Okay, so I was playing this game here, Bio Prototype, on Steam and 100% free. I really liked it. I mean, I've played Vampire Survivor before, and I've played a couple other Survivor type games, but this one was really fun. It had a really cool mechanic where you I wonder if it shows it in the video here. Yeah, right here. This right. Oh, let's go back. This mechanic right here was really cool. Your character has like brains and nerves, and you attach your spells that way, and they get all crazy. And this made me think, hey, why don't I do a Survivors game just like for fun? But since this is not something that I'm going to be taking too seriously, I'm not about to do custom assets. So I went to the Unity store to find some free assets, and they had the Blackthornprod guys from YouTube. They made a free asset with a bunch of little monsters, and I said, hey, look, that ain't too bad. Let's do that. And so far I've got like a little start of a game. You can even play it, even though it's nowhere near done. You can even play it on my website, ogar.github.io. I'll put a link down below. But yeah, I figured if I'm going to be doing logs for my main game, why not do logs for the other stuff that I'm doing? And this one I'm calling Thorn Survivors, sort of because I'm using the Blackthornprod guys' stuff, but I didn't talk to them about making this, so I'm not going to call it Blackthorn Survivors. And also, yeah, here's the idea of the game. It's a Survivors game. Now, I'm not going to do the whole like brain nerve thing that I saw Bio Prototype do. That's super cool and what inspired me to do this in the first place. But I'm going to keep things very simple. This is just like a little easier project to do while I wait a couple more weeks until my main job. I get a extended vacation, and then I'm going to go on to Data Monsters and really hit that hard. But this game, Survivors type game, the twist is going to be that each character, right now it's just one character. I can actually show you. I have additional characters sort of ready to go, but they don't have abilities or anything yet. So just going to leave it as this one guy for now. Each character is going to have an activated ability as well. So you're going to have your basic auto attack. Each character is going to start with their own unique auto attack or basic attack, and then every time you finish a level, which will be based on time, you'll get to pick between either a modification to an ability or a new ability. But the activated ability you get will just be unique to that character. So like this guy, Cryopyro, he's going to switch between fire and ice. Right now I only got him shooting these little fireballs, and they don't really do anything special yet. But the idea is something like this. When you have the fire side activated, then you will ignite enemies that you hit, and they'll take dot damage. And then if you switch to the ice by pressing spacebar or whatever, then you'll start slowing the enemies. Yeah, but that's the idea for that one. And I got a couple ideas for the other characters. I'm thinking maybe 3 ranged characters and 3 melee characters, but when you're playing, most likely I'll try to add some melee and ranged for each type. Anyhow, let me just show you what it's like. If I press play, now I'm keeping this super minimal. Like, I'm not even having a background in the game. The text is Unity's default text. The UI is just Unity's default UI stuff. And I do gotta change some color things. You can hardly see the highlight here, but no big deal. It's easy to change later. The only assets I am using are from that one asset pack. I am making my own particle effects though, and I'll most likely make my own sound effects but I haven't added any sound to the game yet. Anyhow, let's just hop in to the game. Again, no background. We just have this light, and if you notice, the enemies they will fade out into the darkness. Probably going to change how close they need to be for that. And there's my little fireball particle effects. Everything's working pretty good. Originally, oh, why did I go back? I guess a minute happened already. Right now I have it set on a timer for 1 minute or until your HP runs out, but I think I put the HP at like 1,000 for now. Let's play. Oh no, look, a bug. Interesting. What? That's weird. Stop. Start. Play. Alright, everything's working. I guess we'll wait until a minute goes by and see what happens. That was something that was new. Now, right now, everything's super easy. The enemies move really slow. There is collision, though. Like, the enemies will not overlap with each other. Let me wait this minute here and see what happens again. That was a weird bug that I had. I have a hard time believing that was 1 minute. I wonder why it bugged out. Yeah. Weird. So, in that case, let's do this. Okay, it timed out that time. Now, can I go back in? Oh, so the bug happens after the timeout. I have to reset something. Interesting. Alright, well, at least it kind of works. Now, it's most likely a scriptable object variable that I have somewhere that's not being reset. And I'll get to that. What I do want to show, though, is let's go to here. And let's turn off the basic attack real quick so you guys can see. Thought I got rid of this too. Alright. That might have been what was causing the problem, to be honest. Alright. Alright, so no basic attack. So the enemies have attack animations and there is collision. And I'm thinking most Survivors games don't do this, where you have hordes of like enemies actually touching you and you push them out of the way. So I think I'm going to try to add that in. The idea behind that, and they even slow you down and everything, the physics is all there. And also, I really like how I've got a random order layer set, so some of them are on top of you and some of them are behind you, which really gives this feeling of being dog piled in. Anyhow, I think what I'm going to do is give the player kind of a lot of HP or something, so that you have to maybe sometimes force your way through these weaker mobs to avoid a larger mob, or maybe on collision abilities that like do a bunch of damage, but you have to yourself take damage as well. But I mean, yeah, that's pretty much it. Maybe it's worth going over some stuff. Let's see. All right, let's go over things. Let's go to the first scene. It's pretty simple. I've got a world camera, so what do you call it? Well, sorry, my canvas is world space, which lets me use the prefabs that the Blackthornprod guys did alongside UI elements. Yeah, and then so there's going to be 2 buttons, one for ranged, one for melee, and then you're going to have these additional arrows to pick characters. I guess I could show how that works as long as I don't go into the next part of the game, because I already have some stuff set up here. Oh, let's see. Oh, I don't have the prefab set, so I guess I can show that as well then too. Alright, so in the character select canvas, let's go to the character select script, and it's mostly some scriptable objects. These allow me to easily decide what character is going to be used when I start the new scene. So once you click it, it's going to load a new scene, and instead of having to do like player prefs or something, I just have these scriptable objects that let me know if it's this button or this button, and it'll also let me know which number in the array, which element in the array it is. And then I just have these lists for the buttons I want to use. So you know what, let's go to here, and I have a couple buttons. I have that guy and I have this guy. Let's add him there. And so every time I just add one of those in, I duplicate. I take something like this guy, I duplicate him, change it up a little bit, and then I can pop it into my array, and now it should work just fine. This is not the ideal way to do this. I should just have one button, and clicking this should change the pieces of that button rather than turning off and on a new game object. But this is, I feel like, just quick and dirty sort of solution to it. This is not a forever project, so not going to try too hard to make everything the best it ever was. Anyhow, so there's that. So let me go back and get rid of this and turn this off for now. But that is effectively the character select canvas, how it's going to work. Yeah, I might add some color to the text. I think that's it. I'm just going to maybe add some color to the text to give it some unique flavor. And then let's go to the actual game. Let's save this. By default, it's just a 2D light. We have a player. The player's there already. The player has a collider and a rigid body, but there's no gravity in effect here. And then the player's got a light that follows it, and then it's going to also have characters to pick from as well. So if I go to player, I got a bunch of scripts here. I have my player health and my player movement and the state manager, and the state manager talks to the player animation script to trigger the various animations. I have my character loader. This is what decides which character to turn on or off. Since I'm using a scriptable object, which is nice, I don't even have to go to the beginning of the game to have a character instantiate. It's going to remember the data in that scriptable object and automatically give me the last guy I was using, which is really nice for testing. Oh, and I turned my my magic off here, so let's turn that back on. Okay, so we have all this stuff. The player health right now is pretty simple. It's just a scriptable object. Since there's just one player, I found out, well, let me say this. This is the first time I've created a game with like lots of enemies like this while using scriptable objects and state machines and all that. And for the player, using a scriptable object for their variables like health works out okay, because when you change that scriptable object, there's only one player, so it can only affect one thing. But boy, did I run into an issue with the player. And actually, let me see if I can get my script out here. I wanted to practice using enums. So for the state machine on the player, up here at the top, I have a couple of public enums, player state and player substate. And it didn't start out like that. It was player state, until I realized it was kind of wacky having just the way that the animator and the states interacted with each other. And I'm sure there's way better ways to do this, but this is me thinking on my own with like very minimal help, looking up syntax and stuff like that. I'm not looking up any tutorials. It's just me coming up with my own design decisions and then looking for syntax help or reminders of Unity functions and stuff like that. But anyhow, this works out pretty great for the player because it's just one thing. But I'm going to show now the enemy state machine, or state manager I'm calling it. I don't know if I can consider it a machine. I am not using enums because I had realized that using public enums like that was causing all of my enemies to react because I was using events, and it was a great big mess. And so for the enemies, to make sure that each enemy, whenever an enemy has something done to it or moves or animates or whatever, only that specific enemy happens to it, I had to start going ahead and getting components and having to couple a little bit. I was trying my best to avoid coupling as much as possible. But when it came to the enemies, I needed to do some coupling there. For the player, not so much. But it works pretty much the same way. Instead of an enum, I'm using strings with switch statements. It's pretty much the same for the player state manager, except for... oh, no, I didn't. I ended up getting rid of the switch statements, I think, because it just wasn't necessary. What did I do here? Anyhow, yeah, so that's that. Let's see, what else can we talk about here? So that's pretty much how the player works. We load in with the character loader. State manager talks with the animation. Oh, there was one major thing. The Blackthornprod asset is really good. But there was a massive problem. Let's see. Let's turn this guy on for a second. If I go onto this guy and I just flip the body sprite, it doesn't flip the rest of the sprites inside of it. And even if I did flip everything, the guy just gets all twisted. Nothing looks correct. So I can't flip that way. In order for me to flip, I had to create an additional parent, and then that parent... Why isn't it going? That's weird. Anyways, that parent, I'm rotating it. Oh, it's because probably I did Y instead of a different value. Z, X. Oh, there we go. I have to flip. I have to rotate. Sorry, not flip. I have to rotate the 2D sprite on the Y axis in order to get a flip. And then originally this was a problem because I was doing it here on player. But then if I flipped the Y-axis on the player, that's kind of cool with the light. When I flip the player like that, then the directional controls are backward, and all of a sudden A is right and D is left. So eventually I figured out if I just create another parent to hold the sprites, then yeah, or I guess I should say an overarching parent to hold everything else. Anyhow, that was a whole thing. But other than that, the asset pack's really good, and it's free, so like, come on. Alright, what else we got here? So we got the characters. I guess I can show... I guess, right now I'm working on the abilities systems, which proved to be a bit harder than I thought it was going to be, because I have to consider the potential scope of the abilities, right? Like, it's not like you're ever just using one ability at a time. you need to have them modular. So like even though I just start with that that little fireball here, put the play again here. Even though I'm starting with that fireball, it's going to change. It might be modified so that it explodes and a new particle effect plays, or maybe it gets turned into a swirl around you, or maybe the size changes, or maybe the speed changes, or so many different things can change. Maybe when it collides with an enemy, it chains into another ability, and there's just so much potential that needs to be a path needs to be made to that, but you don't know when or if that will happen. So coming up with a system that allows for that has been pretty tricky. So far, all I did was I decided to just come up with a basic attack that each player will start with, and then I'm going to go from there. And this looks all nice and simple, but it wasn't before, I'll tell you that much. It was so very overcomplicated. But yeah, so the way it works now is the character is going to have, for now, a basic attack, and all it does is it has an interval, it has an ability prefab, and it has where you want it to spawn, because in this case, I want it to spawn on where the staff is. And then, yeah, it just starts a coroutine, and then since this is going to be pretty much playing forever, well, it might not actually, I'm probably going to have to change this while true statement. It's just going to wait a second, and then it's going to instantiate the prefab at that location. Now, is that the most optimal? Probably not, but trying to really optimize for that, so far I drew blanks on it. This was the easiest for me to grasp at. Anyhow, but then that's not all. So what's actually controlling the ability is I'm going to have two parent classes, or super classes, whatever you want to call them. Like this one is projectile, and then I'm going to have one for melee. And then it's got everything a projectile needs to follow. And then we have the actual prefabs, which just, like if I go to Fireball script, there's nothing there because it's just, it's just, why did I forget the word? Oh, man. Oh, it's inheriting. Jeez. It's inheriting from projectile. So in the component part, everything's already there, and everything it's going to do is already there, but I can add on to it from that. So in the Fireball script, I'll probably add potential modifications that Fireball can have, and then we can use that in addition to the default projectile that it derives from, or inherits from, I should say. Yeah, and I have here stuff like is pierce and how many enemies it can pierce through, but I haven't implemented that yet. Just kind of there. Right now we just have a lifetime and a speed, so that's how long does the object stay in play. Because I don't want it to be forever, because if it misses every single target, if I have a bunch of those floating around, it's going to be problematic. So it has a lifetime and then a speed, how fast it goes. And then, let's see, if I go back to projectile, I think right now I'm just checking if pierce is on or not. So if the ability has pierce on, then it won't be destroyed when it hits an enemy. But if it doesn't have pierce on, then it's just going to destroy itself. And then enemy health is checking collision, and then if it has been collided with by an ability, it will lose HP, and when it runs out of HP, it will delete. Most likely, I'd like to play an animation and a sound and all that, but right now it just goes away. Yeah, hopefully everything I said makes sense so far. What else is there to show? Oh, The enemy spawner was another thing that took me a little bit. Originally I wasn't going to have an empty background. I was going to have a fixed background, and I was going to do parallax. But then I was like, I don't really want to do parallax. And then I was like, you know what? Why do I even need a background? And so I decided to just put this little light and have a vision effect, and just have us be just in the deep darkness. But then it was like, well, where do the enemies spawn? Because if you can walk forever, and there's no limit to your walking, how I can't put spawn points infinitely, or I could, but that seems kind of problematic. So I ended up with a solution. Where this spawner, we have a spawn timer, so how fast, what are the intervals that the enemies spawn at, and the minimum spawn distance and maximum spawn distance. So minimum is how close to where they are, how close to the player are they allowed to spawn, and how far away from the player are they allowed to spawn. And I have it set up where most of the time the enemies spawn right off screen. Sometimes they spawn kind of like right at the edge of where the vision is blurred. I'm going to fix that. But yeah, and so since the enemy spawner follows the player, everywhere you go, you're just, the player doesn't know that they're spawning enemies all around them all the time. And then here I can add prefabs, whatever enemy prefab I want. And then those are the things that'll be summoned and then or spawned, and then I can write some kind of code to either make it random or determine if it's rare or legendary or boss or whatever. All those things, but they're not in place yet. Right now I just got the one enemy. And I guess additionally I could create more enemy spawners for different types. Like maybe I could have a basic enemy spawner and a boss enemy spawner that have different values. Yep. You know what? I think the bug that I had way earlier on was here with the time elapsed scriptable objects. I think what I'm going to do here is go to game time, and I'm going to go to no, time elapsed value is 0. Interesting. So as soon as you start, time elapsed value is 0. But it's still getting closed immediately. Also probably put this here. I really need that. Alright, so what else is there to talk about? I think that's pretty much it. I'm sure I'm forgetting something. These devlogs that I'm doing, I want to just be off the cuff. I'm not trying to write scripts. I'm already writing enough code scripts. I don't need to write verbal scripts. So this is just a flow of consciousness kind of situation here. Yeah, I think that's it. I'm gonna leave it at that. And you can play this on my website, what little bit that I have, and I'll keep updating it. If you go to ogar.github.io, I got a few things here. You can see my WoW add-on. You can see my Unity asset that I made for XR. You can download from itch.io, one of the first shooter games that I made. And then this other game doesn't work right now because sharemygame.com is broken or something. So everything that's on there I lost, but c'est la vie. Anyways, so click on Thorn Survivors, and then boom, it's right there. We can even make it full screen, and yeah, and then I can play the game. I wonder if I'll have the same bug now in the web. I wonder if it was before my build or after my build that I introduced that bug. Alright, let's let it go for a minute. and then the level will end after a minute, and then we'll replay and see what happens. Okay, so the minute's up. Nope, it's still bugged. As soon as I try to log in, not log in, but as soon as I try to load the next scene, it doesn't work. Interesting. Gonna have to figure that one out. But other than that, if you have made it to the end of this video, thank you very much for watching this. That's pretty cool of you. But yeah, stay tuned for my main game, Data Monsters. In 2-3-ish weeks, I'm going to start putting out a devlog once a week from that game. That's like a big long-term project of mine. Probably going to take a few years to do, but I'm going to do it. That game was the idea that got me into coding in the first place. This is kind of just a low-stakes project that I'm doing while I'm waiting before my extended time off. Yeah, see you guys later.